Okinawa, strategic link in the Ryukyu chain, an island strong point in the southern defense system guarding the Japanese mainland. On L-Day, April 1st, 1945, it is the assigned mission of the amphibious forces of the 10th Army. Backed by heavy fire from the naval support ships, assault troops of the 24th Army Corps and the 3rd Marine Amphibious Corps head for the beach. Tanks, embarking in the assault waves, make headway under their own power. In addition to overall waterproofing, special auxiliary flotation gear gives the tanks the necessary buoyancy. This increases the facility with which armored units can be brought ashore. The pontoons are secured so that they may be jettisoned immediately after the vehicles have attained the beach. Landings made on adjacent beaches hit the east central shore of Okinawa and are relatively unopposed. The 24th Army Corps, consisting of 3 divisions in assault, has pushed south and east toward the main city and airfield of Naha. Here the 1st and 6th Marine Divisions, comprising the assault force of the 3rd Amphibious Corps, drive inland to the east and northward. They are committed to severing the island and securing the whole northern section. Encountering little more than light and sporadic rearguard opposition, the assault makes such rapid progress inshore that by 11 o'clock on L-Day, the L+3 objective line has already been reached. Featured by broken contours, the terrain of Okinawa, an island of volcanic origin, is rolling to mountainous, and a great portion of its 485 square miles is under cultivation. Cover and concealment are good, but the topography presents the enemy with good observation for delaying action. Soon after landing, the assault forces and their civil affairs sections are presented with the task of collecting, screening, and detaining a large disorganized civilian population. The Okinawans, an ethnically vague race of Japanese nationals, are by no means antagonistic, but as they number close to 300,000, the security and health of our forces make them a definite military problem in the operation. The progress inland is impeded by the tactical destruction of bridges by the retreating Japanese. However, where the conditions permit, forward motion is not delayed by reconstruction. Fording is accomplished without much difficulty. Roads and trails impeded by mine craters and roadblocks are quickly repaired by the advancing units. Okinawa is laced with a good tactical network of roads, which facilitate the movement of foot troops, as well as armored and vehicular units. Recurrent opposition is encountered, particularly in the hilly regions, from snipers and small isolated units and placed in well-concealed caves and underground installations. These are reduced individually by explosives and small arms fire. This particular sniper's nest has already accounted for 7 Marine casualties during one day alone. In the hill country, a small patrol seeks contact with the enemy in advance of the main body. Dummy tank was successful long enough to draw our fire. Captured airfields are found to be supplied with dummy and obsolete planes which served as decoy targets. One type of suicide plane is discovered intact. Jet-propelled and human-controlled, this craft is actually a piloted bomb. Comparatively early in the operation, airfields north of the invasion beach area are captured and put into quick repair. These fields, as soon as they are operational, make it possible to augment with Okinawa-based aircraft, carrier-based planes, and those from other islands in support of the ground action. Aside from the tactical considerations, is the strategic value of these runways in future operations. Located as they are, only 350 miles from Japan proper, 750 from Tokyo. apparent that the enemy's main numerical strength had been withdrawn to the southern part of the island prior to our landing. But this is no certainty, and those Japanese still in the north are formidably emplaced and tactically adept. As the advance continues, self-propelled 105mm artillery is brought up in support of the infantry assault troops. The fire of an LBTA is brought upon an enemy-held settlement. Almost completely undamaged, a flotilla of so-called suicide boats is discovered. 17 feet overall, 2.5 feet deep, and with a 5.5-foot beam. They are armed at the bow with 300-pound drums of picric acid. Stowed in the side of a hill overlooking an isolated cove, they were to be launched down these runways. Waterborne, they would be powered on their mission by 6-cylinder motors. Unique to most previous Marine Corps operations, Okinawa, with its heavy population, supported a large number of village communities. This necessitates much street fighting and house-to-house cleanouts. Flame is used to advantage in flushing stubborn opposition from villages and prevents their reoccupation in the rear of our advance. The enemy has, up to this phase of the operation, shown no indication to surrender himself or his position, except with the most tenacious opposition, and with an effectiveness way out of proportion to his numbers. Although the progress is steady, each resistance point has to be overcome with a concentration of effort. The enemy in command of much of the tactical high ground, the advance is carried by the infantry without heavy support weapons. supply troops in isolated positions, food, water, and ammunition are delivered by parachute airdrops. This is especially valuable here in hill country where advance units have outstripped their communications and have progressed into terrain difficult to negotiate for Amtrak's or other cross-country cargo carriers. Here, too, they would be exposed to enfilade fire from the heights, and the airdrop is the quickest, most expedient means of supply. Japanese aircraft come in constantly from carriers and other islands in the Ryukyus. The enemy still sticks stubbornly to his position, determined to make the cleanup as costly as possible for the advancing Marines. Caves and other hillside emplacements receive direct fire from our tanks. Under the cover of a hastily built-up firing line, a wounded Marine is evacuated to safety. Concealment provided by a heavy smoke barrage, Marines prepare to advance across an open slope. Periodic heavy rainfall on Okinawa has mired the roads and trails, making transport difficult. Advance, support, and supply are slowed by the march, particularly in the lowlands, but the consolidation of the northern half of the island continues. Tank and infantry units cooperate effectively in the slow, steady reduction of enemy strong points. mop-up team, using phosphorus, flame, and small arms fire, reduces a camouflaged Japanese position. Japanese artillery is constant, heavy, and accurate throughout the entire operation. Here, a Marine tank is hit and put out of action. As a rescue tank stands by under direct fire to pick up the crewmen, both vehicles are screened by smoke grenades. Retiring safely, the rescue tank evades fire, but also forces the tank salvage vehicle to withdraw. While the enemy has used his small strength in the north to good advantage, his main effort against the Marines has been in the nature of a delaying action. And the 1st and 6th Marine Divisions are committed to careful mopping up action behind their own steamroller drive. A drive with more than 3 weeks of hard fighting successfully secured more than 2/3 of Okinawa. To the south, the Army is run up against a stone wall outside of Naha. Some elements of the 24th Corps are relieved for a rest and replaced by Marine Corps units. The 1st and 6th Marine Divisions, having completed their mission in the northern effort, are brought in opposite Naha and Shuri, another Japanese strong point. With the bulk of the enemy forces compressed into the lower third of the island, Army and Marine units will concentrate on breaking the defense line into pockets. Japanese resistance is stubborn and cohesive. The Shuri and Naha sectors both make heavy demands on individual skill and concerted firepower. The enemy's defense is resilient, and many positions such as Sugarloaf Hill must be taken and retaken several times before they can finally be secured. mobile 105mm gun gives direct support to assault infantry troops in frontal attacks. Crossing an exposed area, an infantry unit is covered by chemical smoke grenades. The battle for Naha develops into a siege. With zones of fire plotted to encompass the entire area, artillery batteries stand off to subject the fortress city to intensive heavy bombardment. A barrage that persists day and night. Bombing and strafing aircraft assist in the preparation. Outside the city, assault units make ready to jump off to the attack. About L+50 is the opening of its most difficult and decisive phase. The battle for Okinawa continues into the streets of Naha. A contest for what may well be the doorstep to Tokyo. The upper 4/5 of Okinawa are already in our hands. The principal remaining Japanese strength of more than 50,000 troops has managed to stalemate both the 24th Army Corps and the Marine 3rd Amphibious Corps, which has arrived from the north to support them. From the capital city of Naha, the enemy defense line runs unbroken for 4 miles like a stone wall to the east coast. Along this line, Marine troops face the concentrated fire of Japanese artillery, which has been the most effective yet encountered in any Pacific operation. our armored units must operate over terrain that is tactically advantageous to the Japanese. Volcanic outcroppings and coral knobs enable the enemy to withdraw from one fortified ridge to another. His cliffside emplacements and observation points command most of the negotiable terrain, comprising a stubborn rat-hole defense system which must be probed and overcome point by point. Our artillery delivers heavy fire on the central strong point of the enemy's defense line, the garrison village of Shuri, which is too heavily fortified for frontal assault. Seasonal rains persisting for weeks forced curtailment of our artillery action due to the difficulty in maintaining ammunition supply. Virtually all vehicular transport is bogged down by roads that are 2 to 3 feet deep in mud. As the rain continues, many organizations manage to maintain at least a minimum of supply by manhandling small units of food, ammunition, and parts up to the forward area. The mud and rain have slowed but not halted our operations, and where there is no other means of supply, delivery is made by regular parachute airdrops. With the main road west of Shuri severely damaged by shell fire and apparently rendered impassable by weeks of rain, the Japanese have withdrawn most of their strength to the eastern side of Shuri to thwart a possible flanking movement from that direction. However, a Marine unit proceeding without heavy support through the ravines and gullies succeeds in breaking the lightly held western flank, opening the way for a successful reduction of the fortress. The strongest above-ground fortification on Okinawa was Shuri Castle. This medieval structure, with walls more than 5 feet thick, withstood over 25 direct hits from our naval gunfire. The citadel was the keystone of the Shuri defense area, 120 acres of village and barracks installations which were totally destroyed. Outflanked and almost encircled, many of the garrison had been evacuated, leaving a skeleton force which was completely wiped out. With the fall of this garrison, the eastern flank of Naha is exposed, and the main Japanese defense line begins to crumble into pockets. Simultaneous with the assault on Shuri, we were pushing the attack against the western anchor of the enemy defense line, the sea and airport city of Naha. What was soon to develop into a drawn-out siege opens with intense bombardment of the approaches to the city. advanced Marine units penetrating deep into the outlying suburbs of Naha engage in enemy patrol. As Japanese resistance withdraws within the city proper, our troops advance to secure positions within the suburbs and on the outskirts of the capital. We are denied entry into the downtown districts by the mud flats of the Osato River and the effective observation and fire of the Japanese artillery. Our carrier and Okinawa-based aircraft aid in support of the ground action. Offshore, supporting units of our fleet execute fire missions against the Naha area. The intensive sea and air bombardment delivered against Japanese OP and battery positions, as well as troop concentrations, aids in making untenable the high ground commanding Naha, from which the enemy is directing his defense of the city. Ashore, against stubborn one-step-at-a-time withdrawal, our troops fight their way through the suburban perimeter of the island capital. With the elimination of Japanese observation points, the mud flats of the Osato River, the only other barrier, are bridged, and our advance units enter the downtown area of Naha. Cautious, house-to-house, street-by-street investigation of the city finds only scattered pockets of last-ditch defenders. They are troublesome, but relatively ineffectual remnants of the garrison that had successfully stopped our advance for more than a month. Naha, with a normal population of 65,000, is practically deserted. Falling to our troops at the same time as Shuri, it is the largest city ever taken by the Marine Corps. And with its capture, the enemy's cross-island defense line has ceased to exist. To the south of Naha, clearing weather permits an early morning amphibious landing on the Oroku Peninsula behind the enemy lines. Here is contained a large pocket of Japanese controlling the strategic Naha airfield, the largest and best air installation on Okinawa. Making a surprise landing from these LBTs, the Marine Amphibious Force quickly exploits its beachhead against initially light opposition. Our primary effort on Oroku is directed at securing the high ground approaching and overlooking the airfield. Another Marine assault force striking overland from Naha, south across the neck of Oroku, has sealed off all enemy escape corridors from the peninsula. Satchel charges are used to blast many of the Japanese defenders from their underground emplacements. The capture of the Naha field gives us all the major airstrips on Okinawa and forces Japanese aviation to operate from other islands in the Ryukyus. To reach the southern tip of the island now becomes the assigned objective of the 3rd Amphibious Corps. Here, south of Naha, our advance is confronted by fairly flat, open terrain, not easily defensible by the Japanese, whose resistance area is being compressed down to 15 square miles. With the death in action of Lieutenant General Simon Bolivar Buckner, the interim command of the entire 10th Army is assumed by Marine General Roy S. Geiger. After more than 2 months of fighting to hold Okinawa, the enemy now occupies only 7 of the entire 921 square miles. And although individual units put up desperate opposition, almost all organized resistance is at an end. Using the few undamaged roads as runways, the Cub planes of Air Liaison are utilized to transport wounded from the forward zones to rear area medical facilities. With an actual flight time of 10 minutes, this air evacuation service enables frontline casualties to be treated at division field hospitals within an hour and a half from the time they are picked up by Navy corpsmen. Advance in the southern half of the island has developed into a sporadic but difficult mopping up action. Many Japanese soldiers like these prefer to commit suicide rather than surrender. Aviation units are assigned to help mop up stubborn resistance in areas that were bypassed. These enemy units are often located in caves and mountain galleries, which are accessible only to firebombs. Deployed in extended order, these men reconnoiter an open field, searching for stragglers and isolated Japanese units. Here, to flush snipers from thickets and cane fields, a patrol uses white phosphorus grenades. Where the area to be covered is too large for a small patrol to investigate quickly and safely, a flame-throwing tank is employed to mop up enemy holdouts. Many disorganized enemy personnel are captured during the last phase of the operation. The roundup continues, swelling the total of combatant prisoners to close to 8,000, a record number for a Pacific operation. Of the entire Japanese garrison of 100,000 troops, at least 90,000 were killed. The vast majority of these prisoners did not give up until the action was almost over, and then only when they had exhausted every possible means of resistance. After more than 80 days of continuous fighting, the island of Okinawa is completely in the hands of the 10th Army. The Marine 3rd Amphibious Corps has completed its mission in the operation, an operation that has given the American forces a vital sea and air base in the East China Sea, a base that flanks the enemy's supply route to the south, and one that is only 400 miles from the mainland nerve center of the Japanese Empire.